The Fountain of the Genie. Patna and Kuller, the young son and daughter of Gilir, the Iman of Turkey, were the pride of their parents and the wonder of the inhabitants of Mazandaran. Their forms were slender as a willow branch, their hair dark as night, their eyes large, black, and sparkling, their cheeks red like anemones, their lips like coral, and their teeth of pearl. And every morning their parents presented them each with a beautiful robe of silk embroidered with many colors. So the two children delighted all who beheld them. One day their father led them into a grove of oranges and citrons, which surrounded a fountain, and seating them upon a marble bench in the cool shade of the trees, he said, "Oh, my beloved children, you have now reached an age when you should learn true wisdom. The world is vain and fleeting. Power and riches are a snare to youth. The worship of Allah, whose name be exalted, alone satisfy the soul of man. Pure worship cannot be attained here in the habitation of corrupt men. Therefore, O my children, retire ye like the pelican into the wilderness, flee into the desert, and find peace and happiness, and there worship Allah, the compassionate, the merciful." No sooner had Iman Gilir uttered these words than a delicious fragrance issued from a large citron tree opposite, and in a moment the trunk of the tree changed into a bright and beautiful fairy. "Gilir," said the fairy, advancing toward him, "I am pleased to hear thee instruct thy children in the wisdom of life. But why dost thou bid them flee to the desert? Know that Patna and Color are destined to serve their fellow men. Therefore, O Gilir, permit me to convey thy children to the wonder palace of the good genie, that from them they may learn the wisdom needed to guide their steps aright through the valley of life." The Iman of Turkey was transported with joy at this proposal, but before he could reply, the fairy caught Patna and Color in her arms, and leaping with them into the fountain, vanished from his sight. The children saw to their amazement that they were descending rapidly through the water, and yet their hair and their garments remained dry. In a few minutes they found themselves standing upon the marble floor of the basin. The fairy thereupon hastened to open a crystal door in the side wall, and through it she led Patna and Color. As they turned to look at the door, it closed and disappeared from their sight. The children then saw that they were on a wide plain where grew varieties of bright flowers, and trees filled with birds of every color that sang with 1,000 sweet voices. The gentle breeze that blew over the plain was laden with the odor of sandalwood and musk, and in the distance appeared a noble palace shining like the sun. A path, white like silver, led to it, and along this the fairy conducted Patna and Color. "My children," said she, "this palace is the abode of the good genie, who obeyed the will of Solomon, the son of David, on both of whom be peace. They are the servants of Solomon and the instructors of mankind. In their presence let silence seal your lips. Presume not to exchange speech with the genie of wisdom." Scarcely had she spoken thus when they arrived at the palace, which the children perceived to be built of rock crystal. Its portals were lofty, and above its entrance were inscribed mysterious characters. Its windows shone as though each were lighted by a separate sun. The door opened of itself, and a stream of light flowed from within. The fairy led Patna and Color through a passage, the walls of which were hung with rich curtains of silk embroidered with beasts and birds. At the other end of the passage they found themselves in a large saloon whose arched roof was of pure gold set with sparkling diamonds. On each side of the saloon were ranged against the wall 28 thrones of massive silver, whereon sat the race of the good genie, clad in flowing robes. At the end of the apartment, on a throne of beaten gold, sat the king of the genii in a white robe and wearing a golden crown upon his head. The fairy took Patna and Color each by the hand, and, approaching the royal throne, prostrated herself at its foot. Then, rising, she stood in silence with downcast eyes and hands folded upon her bosom. "Good fairy Moang," said the king of the genii, "we bid thee welcome to these halls of wisdom, and we rejoice to see that thou hast brought hither the children of the Iman of Turkey. Seat them before our throne, and bid them listen in silence and with all due reverence to the tales of the good genie." The fairy did as she was commanded, and placed Patna and Color upon the carpet spread on the crystal pavement before the throne. Thereupon the king of the genii called in a loud voice, "Do thou, O Barhadan, guardian genie, stand forth and relate to these children one of thy deeds accomplished for the benefit of mankind." At this command a genie of terrible but noble countenance, clad in a flame-colored robe, descended from his silver throne, and having prostrated himself, arose and began thus: "O sage being, I have endeavored to act at all times in accordance with the precepts of our Lord Solomon, the son of David, on both of whom be peace, as ye may now learn from.